If for at any point in time, if you guys have questions or I use a terminology you guys aren't familiar with, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to explain it a little bit further for you. We'll go ahead and get started. So today's training is all about Layout Builder and a brief introduction about what paragraph components are. This is mostly to guide you guys into learning and familiarizing yourself with your Drupal site so you get a little bit of a better idea of what you're capable of doing. If you don't know who I am, my name is Danielle Painter. I am part of Justin's team. I handle the distribution code at this time. I do a lot of the updates and I'm trying to help fix some of the bugs that come along with it. Today we will be working in a demo site, and I'll put this in chat as well. And you will need to use the power user to get the full ability of what you're able to see. So in chat, I do have the URL, so you guys can just click and go to it and log in. And just as a reminder, we're using power user, and the password is on the screen as well. I slur a little bit, so I try not to express the passwords in voice too much. I'll give you guys a few minutes to get familiar in there. If I'll also add it to the chat so you can copy and paste it as well. Go ahead and move to the next slide. So if you guys are logging in, we can get a little bit started. The first introduction I kind of want to give you guys is to explain what paragraphs are. You're going to hear the terminology used pretty frequently in the mix of blocks and content types and components and all sorts of things. Components and paragraphs, we sort of use a little bit interchangeably. It really is just a function item that is a set group of predefined fields that we can always use over and over and over anytime that we use it. And it gives functionality. So it can be as simple as a basic block or complex like accordions and tabs that you use. It handles the work of the display, the function to always be consistent for your content editors. More or less as a site owner or a site user or content editor, you won't play with paragraphs too much. This is typically something a site builder like myself or Ralph, or if you have a third-party vendor, they will help prepare these a little bit easier because the more complex you make them, the more back-end you actually need to go and dive into to make it behave and look the way you want it to. In the last session that we had for basic, I did mention something about block types. They work very similarly, and if you're familiar with Drupal core, you might have heard these as well. It works very similarly to paragraph types, but there are reasons why we use paragraphs over block types themselves. And the biggest two reasons are it works really well with revisions, and you can actually use them in a content type. Our content types aren't set up to use paragraphs as a field, but it is a capability that you guys are able to do. Paragraphs are also meant to be used as a single use time, and it allows us to declutter blocks from the configuration pages that we have in like block layout. If you're familiar with Drupal 7, and if you've tried to manage the block chaos that's in that, you learn very quickly that even your one-time blocks makes this really big list. And paragraph reduces all that to help with the easier management with it. As a power user role, just as a fair warning, you do have the access and the ability to to go into paragraph types. You can see them, you can manipulate them, you can add some new things. You can add them to a content type as a field if you need to for your content editors. However, I do want to make the disclaimer that doing something more than just showing how you want the field to export, as in maybe you want your paragraph to the right and you want an image to the left, because you can use Layout Builder with these as well. If you want to do something more than that, such as your CSS or any fancy functionality that requires JavaScript, it will require theme templates. And that is going to be on your vendor or somebody who has front-end knowledge to be able to do. Just want to point that out as we're kind of exploring, because I will, in one of our tasks, we will explore just so you guys are familiar about where it is. So for our first task, I'm going to kind of go over and show what one of the biggest reasons why we like paragraphs over blocks. We'll read out the tasks. As the power user, if you guys have that open, you are welcome to explore the step-by-steps, and I'll give a couple minutes for you guys to explore that. And then I'll kind of briefly go over on my screen, just in case you don't have that open. And we can go over that as well. So for this task, what we will do is when you go to your add content, you should see a new content type that I created the other day. It's called paragraph example from the list. And what you want to do is you're going to just look at the fields. It's the bottom 3 fields for this task in particular. You have a paragraph one for blocks, and one for custom blocks. And you just want to kind of play around, see what paragraphs offers, what it lets your content editors do, and kind of go from there to play around with it. You are welcome to go ahead and make a basic page or make a paragraph example. Let me see, copy and paste just to make sure you have that information. I don't remember, Jen, if you joined in later than the comment that I made. You are welcome to make the page, because in another task later, we will manipulate pages. So if you want to make a page instead of a basic page for a later task, that is perfectly fine. So I'll give a couple minutes. Jen, let me know if you're able to log in or not, and I can help you out from there. To navigate for the example, if you hover on the left-hand side, you should have like an admin panel. The second icon is a little page icon, and you should get an add content. And then from add content, it's about halfway down. It's paragraph example. As you guys are going through this, I'll go ahead and switch screens. This task was fairly simple, but if you guys need me to remind you, I'll bring it back up. But let me switch screens and I'll kind of go step by step as well with it. So as we mentioned, we went to add content, paragraph example. Then when we scroll down to the bottom, I have 3 different fields. I have paragraphs, blocks, and custom blocks. When you add a paragraph, you get options very similar to what you get in Layout Builder as you're familiar with it now. The concept of it being as a field in a content type is it's all one section. So anytime you have multiple paragraphs or you have 3, 4, 5 in this list, it's kind of all one section. It is very useful for content editors when you don't want them to mess with Layout Builder and you have pages set a certain way through a vendor, whatever SOW you might be using. This allows them to add what they need just at the content type itself. And you're able to collapse it. You can add the fields, you can remove them individually. These are capable of dragging and dropping, so you can reorder them as you need to, and it's all part of that one section. Makes it a little easier to deal with the WYSIWYG editor because a lot of people like to break the content up and maybe midway through the content, you have a picture with the little bit of text you want injected in there. And that's the purpose of what this would be. And it's different from blocks and custom blocks. If you were to use the reference entities, that's a little bit of a technical term, I know. When we try to call them into a content type, the reason why I put this in this as well is to give you an idea of what those options are and why we use paragraphs over just using blocks. Blocks, you don't get that option to edit anything. It's there. It'll pull, it'll display, but you can't really edit anything. And same with the custom blocks. It's only pulling from the custom list that's given from a block layout page. And you can't add anything new in the custom block itself. The second step is just to give you guys an overview of where the paragraph types exist. And that's going to be the third icon down on the admin menu to your left. And it's a little bit ways, but it's called paragraph types. And when you open that, this is more of the configuration panel, the admin panel of what paragraph types you have to your site. So by default, our platform, we have accordion, card with icon, image and link, page contents and slide. Some of you may have more, and that's perfectly fine as well. And then if you go to manage fields, you're able to see what fields are involved, how they're displayed, and how the form is displayed. So that's just like when you have a content editor, this is what they see. These are the fields that they're allowed to see to enter in data. And then manage display is just the export of that specific paragraph. This is a little bit more advanced, but this right now is just to expose you guys to what you have options available. When you guys do make new sites or do redesigns to your site, it's something to consider, like, oh, hey, in the back of the head, I remember this is some neat stuff we could look at and do. And with that brief introduction, we're going to go into Layout Builder. This is probably the most functionality thing you're going to use in all of Drupal, your Drupal site, the agency platform site. Very useful tool. We love it. A little bit buggy, but it's getting better with every version. This was introduced in 8.7 more prominently. People were using it in 9 because a lot of people just skipped 8 entirely. It is the content editor's visual design tool to building out a page. So your content editor is going to be able to, for an accordion to a certain spot, you can add sections to change the different columns. It allows you to drag and drop, so you can move things up and down as you need to. And you're able to pull fields for the content type specifically. You're able to pull custom blocks that are already defined in the block layout. You're also able to pull views. It is worth noting that with Layout Builder, you're only able to update the theme that's part of the main content, or the main content region that's part of the Drupal theme. So if you have a block that is added from a block layout page and it's static through every single relatable content type of that this page would be on, you won't be able to edit where that actually is placed. That is static, that'll stay there. Layout Builder will not be able to edit that. Same with the footer or the main navigation, you'd have to go somewhere else to. And much the same if you have, let's say we use paragraphs in the content type itself as its own field, and you have 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, you won't be able to actually split those apart. It is all one big clumped up field that stays together through the whole thing. Now, Layout Builder uses a couple different areas that you'll hear periodically. One of them is sections. These are considered to define the areas that you're going to group your content in. You're thinking in terms of rows. So you have your typical rows and your columns. Sections specifically is rows. With it, you can change a little bit of the way that that's displayed. Primarily, a lot of developers will build it out so that way you're able to set up columns. So you can do 1 column, 2 column, 3 column in that particular row. And you're able to add to this by just clicking add section to areas above and below content that already exists. However, these aren't drag and droppable. So if you change it or something got messed up, you need to remove it completely and re-add it. Same with changing columns, and I forgot to mention that in this. If you need to change a column from 1 to 2, you will have to remove the section and re-add it. With sections, you are able to configure if you want it contained within a certain max width that we have predefined. You are able to make it fluid where it goes end to end. You can update backgrounds. There's a few selection of them. The predefined backgrounds that are already there, I don't fully recommend it. I don't know why they're there. I'll have to remove them in a later update, but they got some crazy colors. And those colors aren't very accessible, just as an FYI. We can also update the spacing. So I know we've had a few tickets, a few questions periodically through the last quarter where people want to add space above and below. This is where you would do it. You would do it in the sections of the Layout Builder to add padding margins. And you can also add borders, you can add shadows, and you can even assign that row a CSS class. So if you're avid into messing with CSS and you have that capability, or you have your vendor working in it, this is one of the areas where they can define that CSS. The other area that we work with Layout Builder is blocks. Now, blocks are what we use blocks, that term, for everything else. It's just a piece of content that is being placed. You can use existing fields that would be considered a block in this sense, blocks in general, and then views. You also have the option to create a custom block specific to this page only. So anything that you make as custom block to the Layout Builder, you won't be able to access it anywhere else. It's only going to be available for that page. And very similarly, we use the add block above and below, but the big difference with blocks is you can drag and drop them. You can do it above or below existing blocks, or you can even go between sections. It takes a little bit of time, so you have to allow it to scroll, but you can go between sections. Now, with the blocks configurations at this time, we can't edit things like margin or padding. That's something we'd have to look into. It is in a backlog to be able to do, so that is coming down the road. But you are limited to what you have available or what paragraph types or block types we give you guys in the create custom block. Each field will vary on what you're capable of doing. So if you choose something that is in, for example, the screenshot that's there, that specific menu, the only thing you're really able to change is giving it a title, and if you want to display that title. That's all you're able to do for those ones. If you wanted to make changes to that, you would have to go back to the source and make the changes there. When you do create custom block, you'll be given a little bit of different options, and each one will have different fields, much the same that when we were adding a paragraph to the paragraph example content, you get the same fields. So we'll go ahead and play around with it a little bit. If you've already created a paragraph example page, you're welcome to use that. Otherwise, we can go through the same concept of going to add content and just create a basic page for anything that you want to play with. And then this one I'll kind of leave up here. I'll give you guys about 5-10 minutes to play around with it. I don't want to make fun of the travel ID, but that has been a big one where people are learning how to make blocks to put the travel ID. So I figured that would be a good example for you guys. But the concept of these tasks is to familiarize yourself where the configuration part is with your layouts, your layout builder, how to add stuff, how to move stuff around. And then just to change it up, say somebody doesn't like it. So I will let you guys kind of look through that and do ask questions. Bring up anything if you're not sure quite what we need to do with these tasks. And in about 5 minutes, I'll change the screen and I'll also go through the process with you guys. If you guys have any questions through those steps, do let me know. Sometimes I write for a different audience and I forget where we sit at sometimes, so I do apologize. In a little under a minute, I'll change screens and I'll go through the process with you guys. Okay, so let me go through. So if you guys aren't working with this, I'll still go through it so you guys can see. When we get to our page, we're going to a layout builder. And what we're going to be doing was one of the steps was to add a section, and we will be adding one column. There are different columns. Just as an FYI, if you guys go through this, there's a crazy amount of columns. I don't recommend going more than 3, just for usability purposes, for visual purposes. It gets a little more chaotic when you start going higher than 3. For Kim's question, we can definitely add a training for dedicated toward that. I'll make sure I'll capture that flows out of the system, out of this. That way we can add it to a future training. I do know we send emails out letting you guys know which training is coming up. So you keep an eye out for that. So once we add a column, we'll be doing edge to edge, no gutters. And the idea of the purpose of that is to just make it full width, nothing too special. And for spacing, we're just adding, I'm just going to go crazy and do very big paddings. I don't remember what the pixel ratio is for this, but we will add it. And we'll just add section. And then from here, we will add a new custom block. And we're specifically looking for a banner. You do not need to display title, even though this is a required field. It's completely fine. As long as you don't check this box, that title won't display. Title is just to be able to identify it through the database. That's really all it's for. And for title, we will do, for the second title, we will do travel ID, something short, sweet, simple, filler text. With the banners, we do have a URL, and if you guys aren't familiar with this, the URL just goes, it's a button that goes somewhere, and the link text is the button text that goes on top. I'll just add that. And for add media, this platform or this environment already had some of the travel ID pictures. You're welcome to pick one that works that you think would work. And then you can just insert selected. Add image overlay. If you're going to have text over images, you should always have an image overlay, something that is typically a darker color like a black. That's just like a gradient or transparent, and it helps out with the visual of reading the text. And the color can stay white. See, I missed something. That's okay. I forgot to add the HTTPS. So you should have something similar to this. And then when you hit save up at the top, you'll be able to see the block that you created. Now, the last step of it was just to get you familiar with editing. So when you go back to edit, you want to go into Layout Builder first. And then on the right-hand side of the block that you just added, you should have a pencil icon. You want to go to Configure. Now, I know you see Quick Edit and Manage Attributes. Ignore those. We don't really touch those in any way, shape, or form. We mostly want to work on Configure. And what that does is it's going to give you that same little modal where you can change the title or the text that's part of it. You're able to change whatever fields that comes with. And you're able to hit update and it will update there. You also can drag and drop. So if I want to move this under my body text, I can drag and drop it there. You are able to remove sections by clicking configure section and whatever number it's part of. The delete button is all the way in the little settings, little gear icon. It's a little hard to see in the screen, but you do have delete or remove. You should have remove. No. It's the X, I'm sorry. I'm used to seeing a button there. You have an X that's next to the configure section 4, and you're able to remove it from there. And when you hit save, obviously all that will update as well. And that's really all I had for this session. It was very quick, it was very brief compared to the last one that explained a little bit more in detail some of the basics. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I can let you guys have time back. We did update our showcase website a little while ago. It's now agencyplatform.az.gov. And under the navigation, if you go to resources and training, if you would like to give new topic ideas for us to go over on some of the basic or advanced training sessions that we have, you're welcome to drop in a response there. It'll help us kind of guide what you guys are more interested in learning about the Drupal platform.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, as I mentioned, you guys are welcome to ask questions, or you guys can have, I think, 51 minutes back in your time. And don't forget, at 1, there's a digital dash.